Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have Diane McDowell joining us here again. PowerfulQuestionsCoaching.com is the website, and go to the Facebook group, Radiant Relationships. Again, we're here to talk more about today some feelings, and we're going to talk more to her about the work she does. So let me first have her introduce herself. Hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. I'm Diane McDowell. I am the founder of Powerful Questions Coaching. And so you can find me at powerfulquestionscoaching.com. You can also find me on my Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group for people who are interested in improving their relationships, and it's called Radiant Relationships. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here. And for today, I know we're talking a little bit our thoughts, right? And let's talk about our feelings to start, right? Because you said when you first started seeing more men in counseling, you said you had an experience, right?
Yes. Okay. So last week we talked about thoughts. So this week we're going to talk about feelings. And when I started counseling, I had a gentleman and I saw this guy and I said, let's talk about feelings today. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know what the F you're talking about. I'm a man and we don't do feelings. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's figure out what to do with this. So I started doing a lot of research about men in counseling and men with feelings. And I came up with a lot of research that says men are taught to be stoic, non-emotional, goal-driven, accomplishment-driven. And so working with men in coaching or counseling, we really need to understand, yes, we are changing that, but there was so much training unintentionally, whether we like it or not, there was a lot of training to not be emotional. So one of the things I had to do was start to explain, like, what are emotions? What do they feel like? And
Yeah.
where do we feel them? And so I'm going to give you a story to kind of show that example.
Okay, sure.
So my daughter was 13 at the time. She's now 17, but she has Down syndrome. And I was working out at my office and I came in and she said, Mom, I got to tell you something. And I could see singed hair on her forehead and I could
Yep.
smell the smell of burned hair. You know, that
Oh,
smell, you can't
yes.
get rid of it.
Yes.
And I felt two jabs in my chest
My gosh.
and a rope pulling me together. And I was like, oh, that's fear. So then I go back. So I go to my head and I label it, oh, that's fear. Then I go back to my body and I feel this sick, sinking feeling in my stomach and then heat rushing up through my body. And I go to my head and I label it and I'm like, oh, that's shame. And then I go back to my body and I feel my body go kind of limp. And I was like, oh, that's relief that she's okay. And so I would go back and forth between feeling the sensation in my body and going to my head to label what this sensation was that I was experiencing. And so when we talk about feelings are in our body. So last week we talked about our thoughts, and thoughts are sentences in our brain, but feelings are sensations in our body. So when we talk about feelings today, that's what we're talking about, is sensations in our body and how to stay present with them. So I wanted to give you that example because that will show us,
Yeah,
like, when
exactly.
the sensations in our body is what we're talking about, and that is information. It's not good or bad, it's just information. So let's talk about what are feelings. So
Sure. What are they? Yes, yes, yes.
so there's sensations in our body, and they sound like this. They're hot or cold. So if you
hmm
don't know what to look for in your body, and a lot of my clients, when I ask them, they're like, yeah, I feel my feelings, but they don't really know how to. So we would talk about it. So you scan your body. You can do a quick scan from head to toe, and it's like, am I hot or cold? Does it feel heavy or light? Is there sizzling energy? For a lot of people, anxiety feels like the sizzling energy. Is it sharp jabbing? So for me, when I found out my daughter caught her hair on fire, it was like these jabs into my
hmm
chest and it pulled me together. It was like physical pain. Is it tingling? Is it tightness? Does it feel nauseous? For me, when I get really, really sad, it is a lump in my throat that I almost can't swallow. Like I feel
Yes.
physically painful.
Yes. Yes, I get that.
And then
Same concept, Diane. Ooh.
yeah, and then the chest, when I'm really sad, my chest gets really heavy. Like I feel like it's hard to breathe because it feels so heavy. So, and then the tears come to the eyes, and that's a sensation. Like our eyes start to prickle. That's a sensation.
Wow.
So that's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about feelings, I'm not talking about thinking about it. People will say, yeah, I feel my feelings. I know what I'm feeling because
And
they're
you're
talking about
like,
they're thinking about
mm-hmm.
their feeling.
Okay.
But experiencing a feeling is in your body. And I know I'm going to tip my camera a little
Go
here
ahead.
because it's a sensation in our body that we
It
feel.
is. Yes.
So learning how to recognize those. So I'm going to go over, there is something called a feelings wheel, and you can Google it anytime,
Oh,
and tons of feelings wheels will come
okay.
up. But there are 6 main emotions, and then everything kind of breaks off of that into more.
Okay.
But there's feeling bad, angry, happy, beautiful, sad, surprised, and disgusted. I'm
Wow.
sorry, that's actually 7. I
Yeah,
miscounted
wait,
them.
hold on. I can't do the math. I'm like, yeah.
There's 7. I'm going to go over them real quick. Bad. And so what happens with the feelings wheel is you have bad as the main one, and then you have lots of breakoffs that go along with feeling bad. Angry, happy, beautiful, sad, surprised, and disgusted. So those are the 7 main emotions. But then when you say like happy, will also would feel like
Yeah.
amazing. And amazing is different. So to be emotionally intelligent or relationally intelligent, we have to start noticing the difference between what does happy feel like versus amazing. And so we need to know the words so we can even know how they feel. How do I label it if I don't even know what the words are? So I would suggest if you want to be emotionally intelligent or relationally intelligent, you've got to go look at the emotions wheel and start noticing what are the differences between happy emotions, but there's lots of different
Yeah.
happy emotions. All right, so I'm going to go into a lot of times when I work with couples, but not just couples, with individuals, I find that people will tell me feelings, but they're not telling me feelings. And I'll give you an example. I feel like you're not telling me the truth. That is actually not a feeling. That is a thought. So a feeling is a one-word emotion. So instead it would be something like I feel sad that you're not telling me the truth. So sad is the emotion. So a lot of times we're taught like make I feel statements. And it is I feel, but then it needs to follow an emotion. So if I'm saying I feel, then there needs to be an emotion. I feel sad, I feel happy, I feel frustrated, I feel disappointed. It needs to be an emotion that follows. And then we can say because whatever it is. So here's some quick examples. I feel sad because I'm having the thought you are not telling the truth. I feel unimportant because I am having the thought you don't respect me. So it's I feel the
I
emotion
feel. Uh-huh.
followed by your thought.
Okay.
But what I see people do a lot, and so I'm hoping we can all see the difference. I feel like you don't respect me. That's actually not a feeling. I feel disappointed. I feel frustrated because I think you don't respect me. Is that making sense?
Yeah. Oh God, say it one more time. Say it again.
Okay. So the thought so when I say a feeling, I feel sad because I have the thought you don't respect me versus I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you don't respect me. Because I feel like you don't respect me is actually not a feeling.
Yeah.
So when I say I feel, it needs to have followed by a one-word emotion.
Okay.
Okay. So I feel happy. I feel sad. I feel frustrated. I feel disappointed that you're always late, or I feel like you're always late. So just clarifying that a feeling is a one-word emotion generally. They can be 2. Okay. All right. Did that make sense?
Hit the wrong button. Yes, I'm so funny because it took me a second to wrap around, but what you I it makes total sense. Hold
Yeah.
on, Diane. Remind us how we can keep in touch with you. Would you mind sharing best
Yeah.
form of contact? Thank you.
Yes. Powerfulquestionscoaching.com. And then if you want to schedule a strategy session, I have 3 openings right now for individual sessions. So you can go to powerfulquestionscoaching.com/strategy or 785-422-6224.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. And just reminding everyone, today, if you are tuning in, we're talking a lot about feelings and our thoughts. And, it's good to feel. And, some feelings are not. So, like you mentioned, I feel you're not telling the truth. I feel you don't respect me. But feelings you say as 50-50, not good or bad. Could you explain that a little bit?
Totally. So a lot of times we have this idea that there's bad feelings. I don't like feeling it, so it's bad. So anxiety is bad, or depression is bad, or frustration is bad. And what I want to suggest is we want to have those other side. We aren't designed to be happy all the time. We
Yeah.
need the negative.
Yeah.
And what I want to suggest is there's actually times we want to be angry. So I'm going to give a quick example because sometimes it's hard to wrap our head around the idea of why would I want to be angry? But I have a niece, and at the time she was 10 years old, and somebody called her the B word. And I wanted to be angry. So knowing like we want to have these negative emotions sometimes. There are things that happen in the world we want to be angry about, we want to be disappointed in. And so there isn't a good or bad or right or wrong with emotions, they just are. They're here to give us information. And so the idea that they're 50-50 is we're not made to be in the feeling awesome all the time space. We are designed to have negative emotions. Life is designed to have challenges. And when we think about that we should be happy 95% of the time, what happens is we start thinking something's gone wrong. I'm not happy, so something has gone wrong when nothing's gone wrong. We're not made to be happy all the time. So that's what I want to propose is life is 50-50, emotions are 50-50.
Yeah.
They're not good or bad, they just are. And there's nothing wrong with them.
Nothing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what I want to suggest. If you're trying to work on becoming more emotionally in tuned, I like to call it a dressing room. You can go into a thought dressing room, which
Ooh,
we talked about before.
okay.
This is an emotions dressing room. So if you think about when you go try on clothes somewhere, you try on clothes and you're like, do I like it? Does it fit? How does it feel? Like, is it me? And I want to suggest you do that with emotions. You
Okay.
try on different emotions and you're like, how does this feel? Where do I feel it? Do I like how this feels on me? Do I want to feel more of it? Sometimes we do want to feel some negative emotions. If somebody in our life is suffering or we're going through a hard time, we may want to feel those negative emotions. So go into an emotional dressing room and try them on and see which ones you want to embrace more of.
Got it. I
All
like
right.
that. Let's try them on. I like this.
Yeah. Try them on, see how they fit, feel them. Like, sometimes we want to feel sad, and that's
Yeah.
okay. When
Mm.
something happens, sometimes we just want to feel sad. Okay, so I'm going to give you some quick tools for how to manage emotions or sit with emotions. We're not really, I call it managing, but when we are having really intense emotions, we don't understand why, but bilateral eye movement or bilateral tapping can be very useful. So if I'm trying to sit with a very painful emotion and I'm trying to feel and grieve, and we're going to talk about grieving in a minute, if I am trying to sit with the grief, then there is something that is, so if I feel a pit of the stomach sick feeling, then I want to notice that feeling and do bilateral, it's called butterfly tapping. And you just get a rhythm and you just tap. And
Hmm.
there's something about bilateral stimulation that is very soothing to us. And it's the same thing with eye movements. What I tell my clients is sit between a door frame, like 2 feet back, and you just move your eyes back and forth between the door frame as you notice the sensations in your body. And what this does is it's very soothing and very comforting. At night, when you're trying to sleep and you're having trouble sleeping, you can do the same thing with your eyes closed, do the bilateral eye movements, and there's something about it that just calms our body down.
I want to be calm. Teach me how to be calm.
So those bilateral eye movements or butterfly tapping, and you find a
Okay.
good rhythm. You just kind of find the rhythm and you just do bilateral tapping, very soothing. And so when you start feeling agitated, notice where you feel it. So it's a way of processing out emotion. So you notice where you feel it, you focus on where you feel it. The eye movements or the tapping are just a vehicle to help you process it. That's it.
All right.
Okay, so let's move on. How do you feel feelings? So a lot of people don't know, and so we're going to go over
That's a
that.
good question. You're stumping me today. I love it.
Okay, so feelings, this is what I teach to basically all my clients, but I teach how to open up. When we have negative emotions, we instinctively, our body wants to protect itself and our body wants to close up and shrink up. And so instead, when we're experiencing a negative emotion, we really want to open up. So we open our arms, our shoulders, our shoulder blades, our hands, like instinctively, our hands want to close and clench together. And so when we're experiencing negative emotions, we really need to lean in and open up to them. So that's the start, is open your body, open your arms, open your hands. As you experience emotions, your brain wants you to go to your head. So you're going to have a pull that goes, I want to think about it. It's easier to think about it than feel it. So here are some tools to help keep us in our body experiencing it. And here's the thing about these tools. The answers don't matter. The answers aren't relevant. It's just to help us keep in our body. So we ask ourselves questions like, does it have a color? The sensation in my body right now. Does it feel hot, cold, heavy, light? Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? Does it have a size? Does it move? And we ask ourselves these things not because the answer matters, but because that helps us stay out of our head. Because we want to go to our brain and think about how this shouldn't have happened. Why did this happen? Instead of staying in our body and feeling it. So when I started counseling, I had a lot of clients who would say things like, I feel like if I feel my feelings, they'll swallow me up and I won't be able to get out of it. I'll just stay stuck there. And one of the things I taught them was, if you start feeling your feelings, they won't swallow you up. The reason they feel like they're going to swallow you up is because you're not feeling them and they feel so big and scary. So when you sit and schedule, so I actually suggest my clients who are grieving a divorce, a job, a child, when you're grieving something, that you actually schedule time to feel your feelings. And maybe you sit in your favorite chair and you put on music that sets the scene, and you schedule 10 or 15 minutes to feel all the emotions. And you just sit with them and you open up into them and you lean in and you breathe them in. And you ask yourself those questions: what size, what shape, what color, to help you stay in your body and experience it. Then when you're done doing your feeling time, if you have felt an emotion all the way through, you will feel a release. It's not going to feel good. It's not like you're going to jump up and be like, oh, I'm happy now, but you're going to feel a release. It's not going to feel like it's got a hold on you anymore. But if you don't have time to feel it all the way through and you're still feeling a lot of emotion, what I suggest people do is they get up and get physically busy, like clean
Okay.
the house, go for a walk, because when we're done feeling emotion, we still have this energy inside us that needs processed out. And so getting physically busy can help us kind of remove that energy.
Got it. Well, thank you for sharing that. This is fascinating. By the way, just for people who are tuning in and they're like, well, who is she speaking to again? Yeah, we're talking about Powerful Questions Coaching. And Diane McDowell is here joining us, talking about all the work that she does. Now, you're based out of Indiana, correct?
Yes, Indiana currently. I'm going to be moving to Florida, but either way, I am currently in Westfield, Indiana. But I see
Ah,
people all online, virtual,
perfect.
so it
Just making
doesn't
sure
really,
every state. Uh-huh.
yes, doesn't really matter where you're located. You can schedule a strategy session. And in a strategy session, really all that means is we're going to talk about, where are you now? Where do you want to go? And then we'll talk about how we would get you there.
Perfect. All right. And as you say, time to start living your best life, right? And you can make it so much better. You say your relationship can be simpler, way simpler than you're making it. Maybe you're tired of struggling so hard, right? Do you feel like maybe you're just like getting in your own way, right? And just not feeling like you have it all together. So that's why she's here talking today and helping us, guiding us through our feelings, our thoughts, and so much more. So
Yeah.
also, I just want to point out again, powerfulquestionscoaching.com, right there on the website, right? You can sign up to get a free initial discovery call.
Yes.
Great.
And
And the lines are
it's
open,
gonna,
by the way, still 631. If we have any questions, 307-4010, 631-307-4010. If anyone has any questions.
yeah, jump in those questions. If you have questions, that's what I'm here for. I want to answer. And it can be over the things we talked about before too, because we talked about how our brain sabotages us. And this is one of the way with emotions. Our brain loves to play tricks on us and sabotage our relationships, and especially with
Yeah.
emotions. So it can be any of those topics we've talked about so far. I was thinking about something I wanted to go back and touch on. A lot of times people are so afraid to feel emotions because they feel like they will die. And I literally have had clients say, like, I feel like I'm so anxious. I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I can't breathe. And so, one of the things to remind ourselves is we have proof that we won't die. We have been through these emotions before. I have experienced
Mm-hmm.
cruddy stuff before and I'm still alive. So reminding ourselves, because our brain will get sabotaging us and freak us out, and really reminding ourselves that we have proof and evidence that we have been through this before and we will survive again. Our emotions will not kill us, even if they feel like it.
I know, right? Yeah.
Okay, so any questions yet or no?
No, I'm good. I mean, no callers yet is what you mean.
No
No, no
callers.
one.
Okay.
631-307-4010. Call. Ask any question.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk some more while we're waiting. If somebody does call in, just interrupt me and we'll go to the caller, okay?
Perfect. Go ahead.
So when we are experiencing emotions, one of the things that we often want to do is go to our head and kind of justify. Like, um, if this hadn't happened, I wouldn't be feeling this way. So we want to blame them for how we feel.
Okay.
And so let's just say if my husband hadn't cheated, then I wouldn't be having to go through this divorce. So we want to blame them and be angry at them.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem when we do that is we feel powerless. If I give them all the power and I blame them, then it gets me out of what I have power for or control over. So one of the things when we're working with our own emotions is to make sure we stay in a place of where we have control. Like I can, if I'm blaming you, I'm not
Yeah.
experiencing my own emotions. I'm stepping out of that. But that's what it oftentimes it's easier to go to our brain and blame. Like it is more comfortable for us to go to our brain and think and blame than feel the emotions. So one of the things we can do is make sure we're staying out of our head and in our body. And a great way to stay in our
I was
body
going to
is,
say, how do we do it? We need the tips.
yeah, a great way to stay in our body. There's lots of tools. And you can Google anytime and find tools like breathing exercises, like exhale for 5, inhale
Okay.
for 3. There's lots of tools like that, but one of my favorite is called a body scan. And you
Hmm.
just start at your feet and you scan up through your body and notice, where do I feel tension? And one of the things to do is, let's say, if I'm feeling tension in my back or my neck and shoulders, then I can breathe in and imagine putting positive energy there, putting love there. So if I'm feeling tension in my body, any place, I can be like breathing in and imagine I'm loving on that part of my body. So you're
Yep.
creating this relationship with your body where you're caring for it when it's in distress. It's kind of like people who have kids, if you think about when your child's in distress, you want to comfort it. It's
Yeah.
the same thing with our body. When our body is in distress, we want to comfort it. So scan your body, notice where's the distress, and comfort that part of your body.
See but you as like an empath and too, you could feel it. Like, how do people know what they're feeling?
And that's what getting in practice of actually scanning your body does. You
Okay.
scan your body and you notice. So, for example, right now I'm having some mammogram stuff and I'm getting mammogram. So, I have been putting lots of attention on my breasts of like focusing positive, loving energy there because I know that there's concern. So, when we can be like, oh, I feel tension in my shoulders, I'm noticing I'm having more headaches, then I want to send loving care to there. But we have to get in touch with our body to do that. So,
Interesting. All right. Thank you for that. Because I'm like, how do you sense it? And people say, well, I don't know. And that's why you come into play here as our expert. You could teach us the way and via like Zoom as we're doing right now.
yes, yes, it's all through Zoom. And I also have texting support. One of the beautiful gifts of what I do, one of the benefits, a lot of people don't have texting support, is
Okay.
between sessions, I offer texting support. So if you're struggling with something, if you're like, I just feel off and I don't know what it is, then I'll be like, okay, do we need to get another session or can we text through this?
Interesting.
So,
You're right. All right. Well, thank you for that. And we're almost out of time. Unfortunately, we got another 2 minutes left in the show. How did you want to
okay.
kind of wrap up for today?
Well, I'm assuming no calls yet, so no callers.
No. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about real quick kind of what the next step is. If you would like to get on and schedule an appointment, it would be powerfulquestionscoaching.com/strategy. And you'll see my acuity schedule there, and you just schedule yourself an appointment. And then at that appointment, what we would do is really just look at where are you now? It is not a sales call. I'm going to be talking to you really about where are you now? Where do you want to go? And then you can ask me questions and I will talk to you about how I would help you get there. So really the goal is to look for, are we a good fit in helping you get in the direction you want to go? So just jump on, and there is no cost. So there is no, and I do have a money back guarantee too. If in 3 weeks you don't get the results you're looking for or don't feel like you're going to, then I have a money back guarantee as well.
Well, Diane, we appreciate that. We appreciate your time here. And one more time, tell us how we can reach you.
powerfulquestionscoaching.com/strategy, or you can jump on and grab my free download, which is all about how to make the relationship, create the relationship you want.
Thank you again for being here. Have a fantastic day. We appreciate your time, and thank you for all the insight.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.